Hello friend, and welcome to today's video. I am so excited to make this one. I've been wanting to make it for a long time because I'm going to be attempting to write like Emily Bronte or follow Emily Bronte's writing routine as much as we know about it. I have been doing a deep dive into the Brontes in general and just learning as much as I can about them just for fun, just because I want to. And so I thought it would be fun to make a video like this, especially because Wuthering Heights is one of my favorite books of all time. Before we get started, let's take a look into who is Emily Bronte. Emily Bronte is most famously known for the novel Wuthering Heights, published in 1847. She grew up mostly in Haworth Parsonage in England with her two sisters, Anne and Charlotte, and her brother Bronwell and their father. Their other two sisters and mother having died when they were young and after they moved to Haworth. It was expected that their brother Bronwell would come up with a career and help provide for the family, but he kind of turned out to be somewhat of a failure and a drunk. It's quite a sad story. The sisters decided to publish a volume of poetry and later novels to help provide for the family while keeping the family together, because they all loved to be together at their house in Haworth and didn't really enjoy the governess lifestyle. So this was a great solution for them, and it turned out to be a great success. Jane Eyre was an instant bestseller. Jane Eyre is by Charlotte Bronte, and Wuthering Heights gained traction later on. Now, as far as daily life, I'm going to be incorporating some things that I know about Emily Bronte based on the research that I've done, as well as some just general ideas of how a Victorian woman generally lives her life. With that said, I am not trying to live a day in the life of a Victorian woman. I am very much just going to be living my modern life and just trying to incorporate some routines and things that Emily Bronte would have done. Roughly, Emily Bronte's routine would have looked something like waking up early in the morning to help the servants with the chores. She was very much a part of running the household. So she would wake up and do things like putting the kettle on, redoing the fires and things like that to keep the house warm, helping with the baking for the day. Another thing that we know Emily Bronte liked to do is go out for long walks in the moors that she loved so much and that are so vividly described in her novel Wuthering Heights. So I will be definitely taking a walk at some point. We also know that a lot of writing took place between the three sisters at their table together in the evening, collectively talking about their works. And so I don't have any sisters here to write with, but I will probably be doing some writing maybe at my dinner table or just in the evening around that time in general. And another time that writing would take place would be in the evenings by candlelight in Emily's room that she typically shared with her sister Anne. There is so much more to talk about the Brontes, and I could just talk about them and learn about them forever, but I am definitely going to be linking some awesome resources down in the caption below so that you can check them out and learn about them yourselves, because hopefully this video inspires you to do that. One that I will give a shout out to is a biopic by BBC, and it's called To Walk Invisible. It's 2 1-hour long episodes and just the most accurate film depiction of the Brontes that I've seen, and it's so good. So definitely check that out, and I'll link it below along with some other awesome resources. So let's get into the video. I don't know if the Brontes would have read poetry or anything during their breakfast time, but I thought it felt fitting to read some of Emily Bronte's poems while I had my breakfast, and I wanted to share a little piece of one that I read today. This one is called A Daydream, and I'd love to read the whole thing, but I think it's perhaps a bit too long. I'm gonna go to part of my favorite part. Although it was really hard to choose, I really enjoyed this one. Methought the very breath I breathed was full of sparks divine, and all my heather couch was wreathed by that celestial shine. And while the wide earth echoing rung to that strange minstrelsy, the little glittering spirit sung or seemed to sing to me. O mortal, mortal, let them die, let time and tears destroy, that we may overflow the sky with universal joy. Let grief distract the sufferer's breast, and night obscure his way. They hasten him to endless rest and everlasting day. To thee the world is like a tomb, a desert's naked shore. To us in unimagined bloom it brightens more and more. And could we lift the veil and give one brief glimpse to thine eye, thou wouldst rejoice for those that live, because they live to die. The music ceased, the noonday dream, like dream of night withdrew, but fancy still will sometimes deem her fond creation true. If you haven't read any of Emily Bronte's poetry, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I hadn't read any of her poetry until I started learning about her more recently. I had only read Wuthering Heights, and I am just loving it so much. So I'm going to finish up my coffee and then get to some chores. I have a spring cleaning list, so I'm gonna start to work on some of that and maybe do some bread baking and things like that to kind of emulate Emily Bronte's chore morning. And while I do that, instead of listening to like an audiobook or something like I normally would during a lot of cleaning, I am just going to not play anything and just kind of let my mind wander through hopefully the world of my story, or just let my imagination wander like Emily did. So I'm just gonna drink this coffee. Obviously, like I said, this is not like a super accurate day in the life of a Victorian woman or Emily Bronte, and that's not really the point. It's just more just trying to emulate her routine as much as possible and see what I can learn from it and how it works for me. So I'm gonna drink this and then get on with the day. I'm gonna go outside. What is that face? Okay. has been an extremely productive morning, trying to just do spring cleaning stuff, and right now I'm waiting for the bread or the oven to preheat so I can put the bread in. I got my floor vacuumed and mopped, washed some dishes. The other thing I had on my spring cleaning list was to wipe down like my bookshelves and desk and stuff, just dust everything, a little bit of reorganizing, so I'm gonna work on that while the oven is preheating. It's time to pull the bread out, and I think it turned out so good. It's so exciting. And just ignore that my stone is broken, and it looks like it broke again, which is fine. I'm getting a new one. So anyway, yeah, just ignore that and look at the beautiful bread. Now that the beautiful bread is finished, I am going to get something small to eat since it's only 11 o'clock, but I want to go for a hike and pretend that I am walking in the English moors, except we're going to go to a trail. I tried to look up on all trails that can do like light traffic, so I wanted to try to find the trail where it would be like the least likely to see anybody else, so that it could just continue to pretend that I am Emily Bronte living my Victorian life, except I know that my day is obviously much easier than hers would have been, but still, I can pretend and enjoy, and that's all that really matters. I think that's the point. I did read that part of what Emily would do or somebody would do during the day would be like to take the dogs for a walk, and I would assume that that meant that the dogs went on walks with them in the moors. So Lucy will be very happy to come with me on a hike. I'm gonna bring a notebook and maybe do some poetry writing while I'm out there. I'm not sure if that would be something that Emily would have done, but I know that she did lots of imagining and probably did a lot of writing in her head while she was out on her walk. So I thought it would be nice to bring a little notebook and do a little writing and imagining while I am on my walk. just got back from that really nice wander through the moors, if you will. It was super nice and relaxing, perfect weather. I got to do a little bit of poetry writing, which was super fun. And now I'm back, and though it wouldn't really be time for afternoon tea, I think I'm gonna have that now because I'm really hungry. So I'm gonna make some tea and a light little meal, then move into afternoon type activities, which would have been something like maybe musical instrument practice or light chores such as light sewing or mending or making of things, and I don't do anything like that, so I might use that time to practice my tin whistle. I don't know, we'll see what I do at that time, but for now, tea time. I just finished practicing the tin whistle, and I have some library books that I need to get to reading, and we know that the Brontes love to read, so I'm gonna take this time right now to get some reading done, and then I will maybe think about prepping some dinner, and maybe I'll do some of the writing soon as like the evening afternoon writing that the sisters would do together around the table. But for now, I'm gonna read. I have been reading this book. This is How You Lose the Time War, and I just started it not that long ago. This is how much I have left, and I just want to sit here and finish it. But we have a writing routine to attempt. Besides some poetry today, no writing has been done because most of the writing is supposed to take place in the evening, so that's fair. But I also need to make dinner. I think I will figure out what I'm gonna make for dinner, get that going. Then if it's time to eat, we will eat, and if it's not time to eat, I might do a little bit of writing before dinner. I'm not really sure if like the writing around the table together was like an afternoon activity for the Bronte siblings or like an after dinner activity. Actually, I'm pretty positive it was like an after dinner activity, but it might have also been an afternoon activity, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I'm going to figure out what to cook. I am sitting down to a late afternoon, evening-ish writing session. So this could be the time when the Bronte sisters were sitting down together at their dining table to work on their writing collaboratively. And I'm by myself, so unfortunately I can't do that. That would be really fun. I'm going to have a little evening writing session for what I'm working on. I've already written this chapter in my fantasy romance novel, but I am getting it ready to go to my critique partner group. So I'm going to be doing some rewriting on it and just kind of seeing where it could be stronger and those kinds of things. So not my favorite kind of writing. I definitely prefer drafting, but it has been really fun to learn how to critique my own work and get better at rewriting and seeing how to make things stronger. So let's get into it. I had a really productive little writing session. I got a whole revision done on that chapter. So now I'm gonna leave it and probably go through it again tomorrow. I probably won't look at it again today just so I can be a little fresher with it tomorrow. So for writing time later in the night, which sometimes Emily, we know, would write at a little desk in her room in the evening times. For that, I think I'm gonna work on some poetry, which will be really nice because I've really been wanting to get back into poetry writing just for me. It's so much fun and I haven't made the time for it. So this challenge video is perfect for making time for that. But for now, I think we're gonna eat some dinner. So it's the next day and I wanted to talk about what I learned or just what I noticed from doing this challenge. The first thing is living simply and doing simple tasks like cleaning, and what I did wasn't necessarily, you know, a Victorian day in the life, Emily Bronte's day in the life, but I do think that a lot of the things that take up our time these days are just more complex. They require more of our attention, or our attention is just pulled in so many different ways, so many different directions. Whereas like if you're mopping the floor or sweeping or whatever and you're not listening to music or listening to anything, your mind is kind of free to wander or even just be bored. Like there's so much creativity and magic that comes from being bored, not having something to entertain you all the time. And I definitely found that from doing this, and I tried not to be on my phone or anything that much while I was doing this. I didn't watch any TV or anything. I just found that the desire to create was just so much stronger and so much more like it felt like it would be easy to create, like to sit down and write poetry. Actually, it reminded me of when I was younger and I used to write poetry all the time and write stories all the time. That would be what I did for fun, is like go upstairs in my room and just for hours write and write and write in my notebooks. And it was just, it never felt challenging. And I just think that, you know, part of that is just living simply, letting our minds be bored, letting them have the freedom to wander. And the other thing that I've thought of before, and it's just such an interesting point, that the Brontes, especially Emily Bronte, because she didn't go out and work really as a governess as much or go to school as much as the other sisters, they lived such a simple life, you know, at home in their town. They didn't travel much, especially Emily. She went to Belgium, I think it was, one time for a period, but mostly they lived in their town and that was it. And yet they give us these outstanding works of fiction. Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights is just makes you feel so much and just puts you in these characters. It's amazing. And I do think that that is proof to the fact that you don't need to go out and have these wild adventures or experience all there is to experience in order to make art. You have everything you need to create already within you, and it is just allowing that to come out and express itself. One's own imagination and ponderings are enough to have a rich inner life and bountiful creativity. I just think that that is exciting thing to think about, to think like you don't have to wait for anything. You don't have to wait to have some experience in order to make art or be qualified to make art. You have everything you need within you to create. So with that, go make some art. Go write a story, do a drawing, play an instrument, write a poem, whatever it is. Go make some art just for fun, just for you. But before you go, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. And let me know if you are also an Emily Bronte fan or any of the Bronte fans, or what are some of your favorite, all-time favorite novels. Let me know in the comments. All right, have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.